everybody, thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Mars Attacks. And as you guys can tell from the thumbnail and the title, I am once again joined in this video by my boy Rashad Reviews for another one of our Tick for Tack series. It's the series where he watches a movie that I forced him to watch and he shows up in one of my videos, and then we do it vice versa on his channel. The last movie he had me do was Goodfellas, which was really exciting. It was nice to go back and revisit that movie and to be able to review it over on his channel. It's a movie that I'm definitely excited to review here on this channel at some point. But right now we're going to be talking about Mars Attacks, a cult classic from the 90s, directed by Tim Burton with music done by Danny Elfman, and it has a completely star-studded cast. Everybody from Jack Nicholson to Brosnan to Sara Jessica Parker, Natalie Portman, Glenn Close, and so many others. There's so many small cameos in this film, and this is a film that for many years I just had a deep and profound enjoyment of. I don't know if I want to call it a full-blown love, but I always just really enjoyed this film. This film harkens back and is essentially a tribute to films from, you know, back in the day, the early sci-fi films, especially like in the 50s and 60s, very black and white, over the top, your basic flying saucer films. And it's a mix of comedy and kind of this cheesy homage to films of that era. Now, without a doubt, I think it goes without saying that this is not a phenomenal film on a narrative level. There's a lot about this film that is very dated. There's a lot about this film that doesn't really work, but there's this weirdness and this charm to it that I feel like I really never get tired of every time I go back and revisit it. You know without a doubt when you're watching this movie that Tim Burton was going for strange. He was going for over-the-top sci-fi, and it's so clear while you're watching it that it is an homage to those old films. And I just love Tim Burton's style. He just goes for what he wants to do. He's easily one of my favorite directors. I'd say within my top 3 or top 5 directors, and on an overall I just tend to enjoy most of his work, even if some of them don't really do it for me. Majority of his films or things that he's a part of typically speak to me because I enjoy very wacky and weird things when it comes to cinema, and Mars Attacks is no different. Going back and revisiting this film, I had a good time. Was I crazy about it? No, but there was a nice nostalgic little energy in me as I was watching it. Visually, there's a lot about the special effects, the CG specifically on the aliens that are definitely dated, but again I feel like it's kind of like a modern day homage, or modern day, it came out in the 90s, but a more modern day cheesy with the effects and everything homage to those old sci-fi films. And on that level I really enjoy that because I grew up really loving and enjoying those old cheesy sci-fi films. I used to grow up loving the Godzilla films, so all these films with really over-the-top special effects where you can definitely tell that they were being done by hand on screen, or they were stop motion, or something like somebody in a suit like in a lot of the kaiju films. Yeah, stuff like that always spoke to me, so this film feels like an extension of films like that. And on an overall level, I had a good time going back and revisiting this movie, though it is a little wacky and there isn't a lot to the story that really gets you gripped, other than just kind of seeing the events unfold with this really star-studded cast. Now, before I give you my final thoughts on this movie, let's go ahead and hear what my boy Rashad Reviews have to say about this.
Hey Perez, what's the deal? Pickles is everything kosher. Thank you once again for having me in your video. I ain't gonna lie, bro. When we message each other back and you assign me a movie, before you assign me the movie, I get nervous. I do, because let's just say I think you assign these movies knowing that it's gonna make me frown. However, I did enjoy I Am Number 4, so I give you that one. This time you gave me Mars Attacks, and I was like, damn. I felt bad because I pride myself on watching everything from the 80s and the 90s. I'm a nostalgic junkie, and somehow I missed Mars Attacks. For some reason, I just never watched it. So I was kind of pumped to check this out, bro. And I started watching it, and I heard the Danny Elfman score. Well, I'm assuming that's Danny Elfman because Danny Elfman and Tim Burton are like peanut butter and jelly. So I see Tim Burton's a director. Okay, this got that going for it. I'm a Tim Burton fan. Danny Elfman score, flying saucers in the beginning. I'm seeing all the names. Like, this movie stars everybody. Everybody that somebody in the 90s was in this movie just about. I said, okay, I think I'm going to be on board with this. And then as the movie starts, it was a whole bunch of characters. To me, too many damn characters, all right? Too many little subplots, and just, it was too much at first. And I'm sitting there like, oh, man, I don't think I'm going to like this very much. So I started drinking. All right, be honest with you. I started drinking. I said, okay, 1 shot. This movie's starting to get boring. 2 shots. This movie's boring. 3 shots. I'm about to go to sleep. By the 4th shot, by the time I took that 4th shot, and that 4th shot got in my belly, and it started going into my bloodstream, is the time when the aliens came. Perfect timing. As soon as I started feeling good, the aliens showed up. And then from that point on, the movie became a fucking blast. Now, I don't want to just, give the credit to just the alcohol. Okay, the alcohol, I think, heightened the experience. But when the aliens came, I just was in constant laughter. This movie went from a snooze fest to a great time. I had a great time watching this movie, Perez. Look, every time the aliens spoke, I laughed. Like, I got a problem. Once something makes me start laughing, like really laugh, I can't stop laughing. Every time the aliens spoke, I laughed. I did. But the human characters in this movie, none of them worked for me. Nobody. Okay, except for one. Okay, the grandmother made me laugh. The grandma that was kind of crazy, that was in the retirement home, she made me laugh. And she's also, well, I think this is a spoiler review, right? If it isn't, fuck it. Yeah, she's the one that actually helped kill the aliens, you know what I'm saying? So I did like the grandmother. I like the Chihuahua. And of course, Jim Brown, Jim Brown is just Jim Brown in every movie, and I love Jim Brown. But other than that, I couldn't get down with the human characters. And I gotta say, Tim Burton, I think this is around the time when Tim Burton was really starting to lose his shit, alright? Tim Burton always had a weird style. That's why I like his shit, because Tim Burton is just very fucking out there. This movie sometimes goes out there where it becomes a Looney Tunes cartoon. I'm talking about having Pierce Brosnan and Sara Jessica Parker fucking decapitated, and Sara Jessica Parker's head on a fucking dog, and Pierce Brosnan sitting there headless, and they're just sitting there having a conversation how they had a crush on each other. I said, Tim Burton has lost his fucking mind. This movie was crazy at times, fucking insane, and I dug it. Then I dug it. And by the time the movie's climax came, I think I was about 7 shots in, so I was feeling really good. And yeah, surprisingly, I remember it, right? Yeah, when the movie went off, I said, shit, that was a good time. That was a really good time. I really did enjoy Mars Attacks. I'm going to have to put it in my collection. And even with the CG, because I know this was made in 96, so I know the CG is really dated. But I think the dated CG really helps the movie, because this movie is silly. It's ridiculous. And I think the CG is bad complements the film. So I think the bad CG in this case really helps the film. You know what I mean? So yeah, y'all, Mars Attacks, great time. So, grading this, the movie started off like a C minus, damn near D. By the time the movie went off, I gotta give it a B minus, y'all. I give Mars Attacks a B minus. Really good time. Not Tim Burton's best. I mean, like I said, the human characters I couldn't get down with, all the different. There was just too many characters, too much shit going on. But the aliens really saved this movie. So that's what I got. B minus for Mars Attacks. Perez, the floor is yours, man. What you got? And what's next? Bring it.
Once again, a big thanks to my boy Rashad Reviews for being here in this video. You guys can find the link to his channel and everywhere you can support him down below in the description box. Go give him some love. We're going to be doing this back and forth series for quite some time. The next movie I've requested of him that he'll be on this channel very soon is for Power Rangers, the 2017 film, I believe is when it came out. I'm excited to talk about that movie. It's a movie that I have a lot of enjoyment with, and I'm excited to talk about it as a big Power Rangers fan as a kid, and it'll be nice to hear what Rashad has to say about that movie. I have no idea what he's going to think about it, so it'll be really interesting. I also wasn't really sure how Rashad was going to take this movie because it's so weird and it's so over the top, and Rashad said it in the clip, but a lot of the movies I have given him, and I've said it before, are a mix of films that I have enjoyed, and I'm very curious to see what he would think, but a lot of it I know is kind of something I have some sort of a nostalgic attachment to, and a lot of times when I go back and revisit them, and even if I enjoy an element of it, it's usually the nostalgic cheesiness and the fact that I remember watching it as a kid that usually kind of keeps my reviews on the more positive side, even though I have been very open about some of the movies that I've given him are these cheesy movies that I didn't really expect him to love, but I'm loving being able to hear his opinions on. Though I have to say I was really disappointed that he did not like Holes with Shia LaBeouf. I love that movie, but oh well. So yeah, Mars Attacks, on an overall level, a lot about this, about the CG and a lot of special effects are very dated, but I find that to kind of be something that's charming about the film. Everything about this film, from the special effects to the over-the-top performances, the feel, the vibe of the film, it all kind of leans into being an homage to those old films. So when I go and watch it, I can't really criticize those things too much. I would have to say, going back and rewatching this movie, the biggest negative I had was something that Rashad said as well, is the fact that there's just too many characters in this movie. Right out of the gate, you're introduced to so many characters, side characters, main characters, characters that you don't even really expect to kind of show up at all again later on in the film, people that show up as small cameos, and there's just a surplus of popular actors in this film, and it almost felt like that's kind of what they were going for. Let's have this really wacky, over-the-top film that's an homage to old sci-fi films that'll just have tons and tons of popular actors popping up, and then you have Tim Burton in the midst of him being really popular Tim Burton. Yeah, you know, he just kind of went for it with this very wacky concept, and you can just have a laugh with this movie and kind of just laugh, not only because sometimes it's funny, but also because it's just so cheesy and so over the top. And the fact that Rashad watched this with a few shots of tequila in him, I could totally understand and see how that movie would be a good time with some alcohol in your system, because it's a weird movie. And that's not even to say that you would need to drink to enjoy it or to even see what's good about it in any way, shape, or form. But I could see the wackiness and the silliness of it kind of being a little bit more enjoyable if you had a couple shots in you. So on an overall level, yeah, the performances are over the top, their special effects are a little bit dated, and there are a lot of characters, which sometimes leans into the film kind of having a very messy narrative. And by the end of the film, I can promise you, you probably won't be connected to any of the human characters. And in most cases, that will be a film ruining negative, I would say. You know, you have a movie with tons of characters and a very over-the-top story that's kind of structured strangely, and by the end of the film, you don't care about any of the human characters. And yeah, I would usually say that that's a negative, but what I think that this movie does is it does a great job of being what it wants to be, being an homage to these old films, being cheesy, being over the top, not taking itself too seriously, and it asks the audience to look at it the same way, to not take the film too seriously, to just have fun with this really wacky and silly concept, and just kind of see these characters go through this situation. I don't think this is a film that you'll rewatch many times. I have in my lifetime, but for some reason I just had this attachment to this film, and I think it's part of the fact that I just had an attachment to Tim Burton when I was younger, and I still do. But yeah, you know, I enjoy this film for what it is. I love being able to hear what Rashad Reviews have to say about this. Make sure you guys go down below in the description box and give him some love. But on an overall level, yeah, you know, I think it's a good time. I don't think it's absolutely crazy. I had a good time going back and revisiting it, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this. So are you a fan of this cult classic? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you enjoy the visuals? Do you not enjoy the visuals? Do you feel it's a solid homage to those old sci-fi films? I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about this over-the-top, cheesy Tim Burton cult classic from the 90s with great music from Danny Elfman. Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. So hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this video, comment down below, leave your thoughts, subscribe if you guys want to see more videos, and as usual, you guys can catch me in the next one. Bye-bye.